Okay, so oh, Dolphin's going around destroying that stuff. Thank you. So normally we don't do training so close to an active front here, but it's all right. We'll be here to defend if pigs push through. Anyways, so the main thing to understand with the L building when it comes to breaching is that it's very tight quarters in here. There's not a lot of room for error, and the minute you get inside, it's a total clusterfuck. There's really no way around it because it's so tight in there. There's only two possible setups with the L building when it comes to the control point. Control point is either on the second floor up top, like it is here, or it's on the first floor in the cubby right around here, right? It's really, that's it. That's the only variation. The point, you won't find the point anywhere else. So anyway, the doors that we'll be reaching through are the main ones that are open on this L building. So this door right here where Akira is standing, this is your primary entry. This is what I'd call the most important entryway to breach from. And the reasons are twofold. Number one, it has you have the ability to be most protected when you get through this entry, and I'll show you why in a second when we go through the canopy shield placement. But reason number two is that it provides the shortest access to the point. There's no other way that's a quicker access to the point except through the balcony in the second floor, which is where light assaults will go in. But for the main breach team, the most important access point is this door right here, because it is closest to the point. Whether the point is on the first floor or second floor, you have a minimum fuss getting to the point. The second reason is because you can actively protect yourself really well here, right? So the first thing I want to go over is the canopy shield placement. Normally I go through grenade placement first, but in this case, canopy shield placement is so important for the L building. It makes everything so much easier that we'll just cover it right away. So here's your first placement for your first canopy shield. It's really simple, no bullshit, exactly where you'd expect it. It's right to the left of the door frame right here. You want to get it as tight as you can to the building and as tight as you can to the stairs. As you see, when you peek the doorway, you are completely covered from the stairwell. There is no way I can hit somebody's toes, basically, if they peek too hard inside the doorway, but if you're at the doorway, I can't hit you. And if you come inside the doorway and hug this on your left side wall, I literally can't shoot you at all. I can't even shoot your toes coming up the stairs until you're about halfway up the stairwell, and then I can hit people's toes, right? That's it. So you've got an incredible amount of coverage here. If you want even a little bit more coverage, you can take this canopy shield and even place it a little bit slightly to the left, like one full canopy shield size to the left, so like right around where I'm shooting right here, right? And push it, but you don't want to go too far to the left. Basically, the idea is, I'm a little close to the door here. The idea is you want the edge of the shield, right here where I'm shooting, to connect right up here to this part of the wall so that it's flush with the stairs. Any further than that and you're like losing shield coverage as it gets buried in the stairs, any further away and you're allowing guys to shoot your legs and your toes as they come up, right? So the idea is that you want the edge of this shield to get flush with this gray light panel here where the edge of the stairs are, right here where I'm shooting, right? If you can do that, you've got essentially perfect 100% coverage for the breach team coming through the door. Now, ideally, when the point is on the second floor, you're going to hug the wall as you move up, and then immediately open fire, hip fire as you move towards the point. If the point is on the first floor, it's a little bit different. Instead, what you're going to do, instead of turning here and hugging the wall or taking the shortcut like straight through the stairs like this, you want to maximize your coverage through the shield. So if the point is on the first floor, you're going to enter here and you're actually going to swing wide this way, right? And then the only person that can possibly hit you is the guy that's often peeking the balcony up here. So you want to come in on the right side of the frame, swing wide, and then dart to the left, right? So you'll hit the entry, you know, grenades have gone out, you come in on the right side of the door frame, and then cut hard left and run in to get to the point here, right? Either way, this canopy shield provides an immense amount of protection for breaching this main entry. Now, the second positioning, somebody's already got it. I see somebody's already been to another L building training. This shield doesn't look quite as good because, as you can see, there's all this shield extending out of here, but this provides two very important pieces of protection, both inside and outside. From the outside, you can see that normally, see where Strider is, guys, up there? Normally, there's some cheeky light assault or heavy that is peeking you from that window. And while your back is turned and you're getting ready to prep to breach this entry, you're getting shot in the back of the head by the guy from the window. Well, guess what? Now he can't do that. He can tap you in the toes, like he can hit your legs and stuff, but he can't get any kill shots and, you know, delete you in one frame with like a burst to the head. Why? Because this shield has been positioned right here, right? So when we go in, we move in and we see, look at this coverage. I want you guys to stand where my position is. Look at this coverage. This is just gorgeous. This is exactly what you want to be looking at when you breach a tight building like this. A full half of the stairwell is covered. They can't hit your toes, even when you're at the bottom of the stairs. Even if you start peeking out to the middle of the stairway, they cannot hit your toes. So you've got full coverage on the way up here, and it's only once you're basically at the top of the stairs that they can actually start, you know, shooting you. And that's exactly what you want. You want to be right in their face before they can really respond, right? So these two canopy shields, take good account and take a close look at their exact placement, because this is basically where you want those canopy shields every single time you assault the L building. These shields are so important and they offer so much protection that I would say that if you're approaching the L building from the other side, you know, say these like blocked off doors like this guy is open, for example, I would never breach through this door here at my position. And the reason is twofold. Is number one, you have to wrap around and spend all this time running up the stairs. And number two, even if you put a canopy shield out here, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to extend out to about halfway to the ceiling, right about to where I'm standing, right? Which means when you hit the stairs, which is exactly the moment when the enemy's going to have their guns on you, you lose the protection just at the moment you're trying to breach up the stairs. So I would never ever breach from this doorway if I could possibly avoid it, right? That means even if you're coming from this direction, you're going to want to wrap around the L building to make sure you can come in from these two doors here, this guy and the one on the short end. This side door is in some ways a better entry, but also in some ways a worse entry. It's a better entry in the sense that you have a better view of who might be on the first floor, right? Because when you're coming through the long door and when you're coming through this short door, basically you come in and you turn a corner and then you get to see who's here, right? You don't get a view of who's on the first floor and who might be covering these stairs until you're already inside the building. Whereas from this door, as you're running up down the hill, you can sort of get a look at people's feet as you come in. You can swing wide or go left, and you can see if anybody's in this corner over here looking to peek you from over here. So it's a good entry in that it gives you a good view of what you're about to run into. It's a bad entry because there's only one decent place to place the canopy shield, and it doesn't give you full protection. The other problem is that if you try to put a canopy shield down here where I'm shooting, you'll discover that the canopy shield on this inside door over here is too close, right? This guy that I'm shooting here is blocking placement of another canopy shield on the left side of this door frame here. And that can be an issue. What it means is that you have to place your canopy shield about 1.5 meters back from the doorway. The problem with that is that it screws with your coverage, because now only a small part of the canopy shield is poking out. So you cannot essentially have both, right? You got to choose one or the other. But anyways, the point is that if you can get a canopy shield on the left side of this door right here where I'm shooting, it will give you decent coverage and protection from these guys in the balcony, because of course if you walk in, first thing that happens to you is you get domed in the head by where Strider's at. He's at the perfect position to peek the doorway right in here. So you don't want that. You need some protection from that. Now you can put the door on, or you can put the canopy shield on the right-hand side of the door as well, but that gives you less protection from the left-hand side of the internal walkway here, or the nest as it's called. Similarly, you can put on the left-hand side of the door, but that gives you less coverage from the right-hand side. Either way, if you are breaching in through this door, the point is to get inside quickly and either go to the left or go to the right side of the door as you come in, so you can get maximum protection from whichever side of the door the canopy shield was placed on, left or right. From there, once you're inside, you got protection from the guys on the walkway here. You don't have to worry about that. You can just focus straight on whoever's on the stairs, and or, probably more likely, rush down here if the point is on the first floor and get inside the cubby, right? So that's the main thing. You can consider this like a tertiary placement. Canopy shields right here. The two main canopy shield placements are, of course, the main door where this one is, and right in the corner where this one used to be. Those are the main ones. This will make breaching this building an absolute cakewalk compared to what you're probably normally used to, which is, you know, getting in here, peeking this door, having the guys up on the second floor constantly shooting the door, dropping ordnance on you, C4 on your head, right? So that's another thing that I want to go over as well. Everybody get on my position here on this first door over here, and can I have someone inside Desi this shield and take it down? Should take 2 Desis, and we're going to count this out. Okay, it's down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds, and the time for an entire breach has gone by already. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I mean, this is useless, right? It takes almost 30 full... There it goes up again. It takes almost 30 full seconds for this thing to come back up once it's gone down. So, you know what you do when it goes down? You eliminate it immediately. Don't wait. As soon as this thing goes down, as soon as you see somebody desi it or someone hits it with a C4, it goes down, destroy it immediately and replace another one. You can destroy this thing and place a new one and have it up in less than 5 seconds. 5 seconds compared to like 25 seconds, that's a literal eternity. You can easily lose a base inside of 30 seconds that way, waiting for something like this to come back up. So don't wait. Just immediately destroy a canopy shield anytime you see it go down and replace it with your own, because you've shaved literally 20 seconds off your wait time if you do so. And that rule goes for everywhere. It doesn't matter what building you're breaching or where the canopy shield is or anything like that. The minute you see a canopy shield go down like that, if you have one of your own, destroy it and replace it immediately. Because it's literally the difference between 5 seconds and 30 seconds, right? Which is an eternity when the clock is ticking and you're under pressure. So that I always want to go over, because it's something I think doesn't get mentioned enough. I see canopy shields go down all the time. People just sort of continue peeking the door and doing whatever they're doing, and they don't replace the canopy shield, and they have no protection, and it's an easy way to screw up the breach. Okay, let's talk about grenade placement real quick. There's only really a couple of ways to get grenades up to the second floor. First floor is easy. You're just going to bank them off the wall so that they bounce into the cubby. That's a simple angle. If you guys come in here on the first floor, follow me in here for a second. So this triple stack has these lockers on the wall. This L building has these lockers on the wall. You guys have probably noticed sometimes there's like server towers, right? Big blocky ones that sort of block the angles and stuff. These can be finicky. Like if you hit the top angle of one of these with a grenade, it can like bounce weird sometimes, because the physics engine is wonky and the hitbox of conks are wonky. But ideally, what you want to do from this door is you want to get to this position here, because see where Candy Hat is? See, he's up there on the second floor. That's where they're going to be peeking you from to stop you from doing exactly what you want to do, which is get a good positioning on the door and get your grenade in. So if you want to get a grenade in the cubby, you're going to be bouncing that grenade off this gray wall post right here where I'm shooting. You guys see that? Yeah, that's the one. If you toss a grenade and bounce it off there, you're going to get a direct bounce, like right into the cubby. Yeah, I just saw a couple grenades going. Yeah, res grenades went in. That's perfect. Perfect bounce. See where those res grenades landed? That's perfect. If those are conks, you're going to conk everybody who's huddled in here trying to hold the point. One conk can just decimate a whole, crew of people, never mind like 4 in a row in rapid succession, right? So if the point is on the first floor and you're trying to conk the point and rush it, it's so easy. It's just easy peasy with this building, right? So that's your main point. If you're coming from the opposite side, it's a little bit different because it's a wider angle, more obtuse angle. So follow me over to this door. This one's a longer throw. So you have to aim a little bit higher upwards than you normally would, but you also have to be careful not to let your conk bounce off the roof of the mezzanine floor here, right? Because if you do, it's just going to hit the floor and get a bad bounce. Same thing though, your target is still one of these gray pillars. It's the second one here, right where I'm shooting here. If you can get a bounce off of that, 9 times out of 10, it's going to bounce off this far wall here. Yep, that was a good one. That frag was okay. It went a little too far. You want to throw it a little lower in order to get it to hit the floor first. Yes, that was better. See where that resonate landed? That was a pretty good one. You want it to land a little closer, like in the middle of the floor, right where I'm shooting here. But by and large, that's the bounce you need to get the grenades right in front of where the point is going to be and or where the cubby defenders are. So if you want to put grenades into the cubby, from the first door, you're going to be bouncing off here. And from that far short side door, you're going to be bouncing it off here, right? Now, what if we want to get our grenades up to the second floor? Well, let's head back to the first door here with our canopy shield. So, there's weird things about the PlanetSide physics engine. I've mentioned this numerous times. One of the weird things is the way that the grenades carry momentum. If you are throwing a grenade at a wall and you are looking upwards and you throw the grenade, what's going to happen is it's going to maintain that upwards momentum. So when it bounces, it's going to bounce up, essentially, right? It's going to hit the wall and then continue maintaining upwards momentum before it finally gets, attracted by gravity and falls down. If you're throwing it lower, or I should say if the trajectory arc of the grenade is on the down arc by the time it hits the wall, it's also going to maintain that downwards arc when it bounces. So if you want your grenades to get placed properly on the second floor, you're going to have to work that arc properly. So the place that you want to hit is basically right on this part of the wall that juts out here. You guys see where I'm shooting here? Right along here. right? And what that will do, yeah, that res grenade throw is pretty good. What that will do is that will ensure that the grenade won't bounce too far. And I'll give you an example. If you throw the grenade too high, right, and it hits the roof, what can end up happening is that the grenade can bounce to the stairs. And I'll show you what that looks like. Oh no, that one hit the roof. Okay, so that was a good one. That ended up conking there. But if I throw, yeah, that was a good one too. So if you get a bad bounce, what's going to happen is that the grenade, I'll try and do it on purpose, but it's hard. There's one. So that ended up on the stairs. See where that landed? That landed right in the middle of the stairwell. That's really, really bad for the breaching team, because if that happens on your final, you know, if the point man is unloading his whole grenade bando, and the 4th grenade goes out, and that grenade lands here, and then the whole team breaches face first into their last conk, that's a disaster, right? And that's one thing you always got to be careful of. You want to give at least a second or two after the final grenade goes out, so that you don't breach face first into your own grenades. So one of the ways you can avoid doing that is making sure that you hit in the right spot on this jutting out part or right above it, right? So that if the grenade does bounce upwards, it hits the roof and comes back down. You don't want to be too low, and you don't want to get an angle that's too sharp. If you're peeking the left side of the door frame and you hit right where I'm shooting here, that's too sharp an angle. That acute angle will probably force the grenade over the balcony. But if you peek out a little further, like where I am now, to the right side of the doorframe, which you can afford to do because your canopy shield is protecting you, you can hit your grenades further inside the balcony, more where I'm shooting over here. That will guarantee that the grenade bounce may put the grenade onto the stairs, but because it's a wider angle, it will make the grenade end up sort of over here where I'm standing or in front of this window, right? So that's pretty key, and I want you guys to always be practicing that when you're breaching solo, when you're just doing solo play. You should be looking for those angles, understanding that a wider angle will, in the L building, will guarantee that your grenade ends up on the 2nd floor and doesn't bounce back off the wall straight down to the 1st floor, okay? It's basically the same idea, but we have to switch the angle and the style of grenade throw. So come over to this secondary door here. This is our secondary breach position over where I'm standing here, right? This is the next best place to breach from, right? Because it offers a lot of cover. First of all, you can't get tapped from above because you're underneath the walkway. You're underneath the nest, the mezzanine floor here. So they can't, you know, Strider's busy, you know, peeking this door over here, but nobody on that nest is a danger to you when you're coming in here, right? The only thing you have to worry about is the 1st floor. So presuming you have access to this door, right, and presuming that the 1st floor is more or less clear, the way that you're going to get your grenades up to the 2nd floor is by like a reverse bounce. So the way to do that is you're going to bounce your grenades right off the wall, right here, right where I'm shooting here. And if you bounce them right around where, you guys see where the line and the texture is, where I'm shooting across that line, that's where you want, yes, good frag throw. Whoever tossed that was literally perfect. You got it right in the middle of the walkway. So if you can bounce your grenades off that line where the two textures meet, pretty much guaranteed the grenade will make it to the nest on the 2nd floor and probably do some serious damage. Now, we all know from holding L buildings, where do you generally put the router? Most often, the router's going to be over here at the top of the nest, at the end of the walkway here, right? That means that anybody coming in here and any group of people sitting here defending this or peeking these stairs is going to get conked really, really badly when the point man unloads his grenade bandolier, right, against this wall. So 4 conks go out in rapid succession over here. What that means is that everybody over here gets conked. They can no longer peek this door effectively because they're conked, and they can't run over here and peek the stairwell effectively either to catch you coming up for 2 reasons. Number 1, there should be a canopy shield here, and number 2, they just got conked in the nest here. So that gives you enough time to run in, come around the corner, and get up these stairs before the guys over in the nest even really have a chance to shake off the concussion effects and get over to this railing and start defending, right? So it does double duty by, first of all, you know, destroying whatever effectiveness their router had and bringing reinforcements in, because they're getting, you know, fresh reinforcements are getting conked as they come in. And furthermore, it stops them from rotating around and getting back on the point here, right? So it's really, really key that you get those grenade bounces. And again, you can angle it, right? It doesn't have to be from, you know, this doorway. It doesn't have to be right on this wall. You could also angle it off this wall, right? And go like this and get it a little further down, right? Now the one thing is you want to be careful because certain angles could bounce that grenade in such a manner that it ends up on these short stairs. And then you have the same problem I was talking about with having one of your grenades bounce on these long stairs. The problem, of course, is that there are these big holes in the 2nd floor for the stairs, so you always want to be cautious of your grenade placement and make sure that you don't bounce it off this back wall in such a way that it ends up going over this railing here and onto the stairs that you're about to breach on, right? Same fundamental principle as the opposite stairs. Don't Don't let your grenades bounce onto the stairs, right? So the L building is weird. It's a weird design with this mezzanine floor that's has this open balcony and stuff. It's therefore, it's all the more important to get your grenade placement exactly correct. That's something you can practice solo. I encourage you to practice it solo. You will have an easier time breaching buildings when you're running solo. Akir was telling me just the other day he was using the canopy shield placement on door 1, the updated one, let's call it, or the improved canopy shield placement on door 1 of the powerhouse to let him solo breach. Because it's just that effective. It covers the long stairs so well. So I want you guys to have that same experience solo when you're placing canopy shields here in the L building. So make note of those canopy shield positions, and always practice proper grenade placement and grenade throw discipline when you're working the angles, right? So yeah, those are the 2 main entries. Those are the 2 main grenade placements. The last thing I want to talk about is light assaults. Light assaults are super important for the L building because 99% of L buildings in this game have the balcony and both doors open, right? That's a huge advantage for light assaults because they can do a little recon, while the conks are going out as the breach is starting, and they can see which side, the short side with the nest walkway or the long side, they can see which is better defended, right? When concussion grenades start going out, right? When the call goes out, conks out, right? After everybody's stacked up and the call goes, conks out, and the point men start unloading their grenade bandos. That is when light assaults need to come down from the roof, right? So light assaults should already be on the roof while the heavies and medics are stacking up at the doors. Light assault's main job, and this is all in the breach guide, you can read it at your leisure. Light assault's main job is to be taking out beacons, removing any spawns, killing any routers if they have the opportunity, and even targets of opportunity, calling out medics, sunderers, any other logistics. But when they hear that call over the squad of platoon chat for conks to go out, they know that the breach has essentially begun. At that point, light assaults can jump down to the balcony here and put in a flash grenade if they're running one, which they should be. That flash grenade will further confuse enemies that are already starting to get hit by the 4 conks that are coming out, or maybe 8 conks if you got 2 squads and you're breaching from both doors at the same time on the first floor. So the flash grenades just add to the confusion and make it way worse for the defenders inside. At the same time, this allows the light assaults to be peeking the door safely because they just flashed everybody who's also getting conked at the same time. And that means light assaults can use their own judgment as to when to breach, right? You'll know right away when the last conk goes out because you can count them, because you're watching them come in, and you can, you'll hear the call over the squad chat, heavy's breach, and that's when it's time to move in there. And immediately, what do light assaults do first? Target the router, if there is one. If there's no router, target the medics, right? Priority targets, that's the name of the game for light assaults, priority targets. And if that just means running into a bulk of people, if there's a medic pinning people over here, tethering people, and there's like a couple heavies on the railing, then it's just like easy decision. Drift in there, drop a C4, and be on your way. Right? And again, if everybody's been conked or flashed because grenades have been placed appropriately, then the light assault's job will be easy as pie. Literally just drift in, drop a C4, and then drift to the other side over here, drop another C4. At that point, the breach may well be over. If everything has gone well, you'll probably have cleared out the breach. Will have cleared out the enemies, the point hold, I should say, before you even need to drop that second C4. Right? So that's ideal conditions, ideal circumstances. You have one canopy shield here in this corner for this stair, the other canopy shield covering this stair. When the conks go out, light assaults drop to the balcony and put their flashes and or C4 in through the balcony doors. It's such a tight space in here. The main areas that point holders will be defending from are exactly the vulnerable points that you want to be C4ing, so it all comes together really easily. This building is a nightmare, as you guys know, from the point hold perspective, because it's so tight. I mean, you can't really fit more than 2 squads in here without it becoming a clusterfuck anyways, so anything you can do to maximize the number of people that are getting hit by your ordnance is going to minimize the amount of casualties you guys take coming through the door from the breach perspective, right? So think about that from the point hold perspective. Think about where the enemies are. Think about where they're grouping up. Think about where the router always is. For light assaults, that's going to be extremely important because those are going to be your priority targets. That's basically it for the L building run through. The most important thing, of course, as with all buildings, are the grenade placement and then canopy shields in that order. Actually, for the L building, it's reversed. I would say the canopy shields are even more important than the grenade placement. But for most buildings, it's grenade placement, canopy shield, and then, of course, the standard order of operations. Conks go out first, heavies breach. When heavies breach, a medic throws a revive grenade to ensure that any heavies that go down on the entry get revived almost immediately. From there in, medics wait until they get the call to breach. When they get the call, medics breach, then they throw a second revive and they enter themselves to begin providing direct fire support. The whole thing should take less than 20 seconds. or rather what I should say is within 20 seconds you will know whether or not the breach has gone well, especially in a tight, small building like this. So that's basically it. Anybody have any questions about any of that stuff?
While we have the jump pads, they serve any usefulness in this building?
Not really. If you're really tight on your mechanics and you have good movement and positioning, you can use the jump pad to get in through this second floor window. But, I mean, it's of limited use. And this area right at the top of the landing of the stairs is actually where we want to be landing some of our grenades too. So it's like, oh, that was good. That was, Charlie Barra got it first try like that. That was really smooth. Yeah, well done, man. Or maybe it's just me. I had a hard time with it. But yeah, there you go. So that's the one use I've found for them, is that if you're good with your movement and your jump and crouch, you can get through the second floor window really easily. Takes a little bit of practice, but it's one way to get inside. Again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you're doing an unorthodox breach. For example, if these doors are closed off, now normally they aren't. In fact, I think there's only one base in which both the corner door, what we'll call the short entry door here, entry 2 and entry 1, are actually closed off. But if they are, the jump pad up to this second floor window, if it's open, that's a perfectly rational, reasonable solution, and you can get a lot of people in a short amount of time. It's kind of like taking a jump pad over to a biolab. You know, we've all been sitting on the air pad and seen like a stream of like 2 squads all come in at the same time. It can be quite a shock for the point hold team to see everybody coming in through this window out of nowhere, right? It's not usually what they're expecting. If you're going to do that, I highly recommend putting a canopy shield outside, somewhere around here where I'm shooting, in order to protect you while you put the jump pad down and get everybody moving up, because otherwise somebody will just dump a C4 out this window, and that'll be the end of that. But yeah, that's the only... you could also do it to the balcony. I'm pretty sure, certainly here at this base, because there's like a small hill underneath the balcony, if you can get a jump pad there, you can get everybody up to the balcony too. So that offers the same options for breaching as like a drop breach, right? If you were to drop the squads from a Valkyrie on the roof, everybody would go in through the balcony. So after jumping up with the jump pad, it's just the same entry as you would if you were drop breaching the L building, which we're not going over today. I'll go over that in a separate training session. So yeah, there is limited application, and it is very useful in those limited scenarios. But I wouldn't recommend it if you have the option to do a proper breach instead. Any other questions? Any other concerns about placement of canopy shields or anything like that?
I think just a couple reminders of things that are good for all breaches. You have to wait until you hear that breach call to go in from your squad lead. We see it all the time during live play because it's so chaotic, people charging in while the conks are going out. It's not going to work great.
Yeah, don't do that.
Give it time to work.
Yeah, don't run into your own conks, guys. Group movement is super key. That's what surprises the enemy. That's what stops the point holders from being able to take you out one by one. If everybody moves in all at the same time and they're conked and buzzing and can't track you properly, that's it. It's all over. You've got all the advantages in the world. If you trickle in one at a time, they can get there. Because guys, there's always one guy that took cover. There's always one guy that got behind the boxes. There's always one guy that was like at the other end, or he was on the balcony, and then his friends were like, "Oh no, they're conking us! Oh, they're breaching!" And then he runs in from the balcony, and he didn't get conked. That guy's going to put down at least a couple of you on the way up, right? The point is to minimize the number of that guys that you're facing in the point hold, and to be able to be in an effective position to return fire and focus down those targets that can actually threaten you. The only way to do that is to go in together. I mean, and that's sort of part of a broader point of being aggressive. See, here's the thing. In solo play, we develop a lot of habits that are good for survivability. And if you guys check out Landwale's old infantry advanced training and tips that he put together for VKTZ Special for us, you'll see all that stuff there. How to slice the pie, how to peek doors safely, how to sprint peek safely, how to double back and abuse client side, right? How to improve your survivability when you are entering a door, and so on and so forth. And all that stuff is really good. There's really good tips, and it's really high-level stuff. The problem is it's designed for improving your infantry performance largely as a solo player. Some of the tips can be modified or can be used as is to improve your play as you know, a tight squad, but by and large those tips are for improving your play as a solo player. The irony is that unfortunately some of those things you might consider bad habits as a solo player are actually exactly what you want when you're breaching an entry as a full team. And what I mean is that if the breach team rolls up and you get the order to heavies breach, and the heavies run up the stairs and they get to the door, and then they stop and they start peeking the doorway, well, that's a fucking disaster. You're asking to get C4'd. You're asking to get peeked by defenders who are waiting for you to stop at the doorway and try to peek them, right? Do not play their game, I mentioned this in the breaching guide as well. It is imperative that you stay aggressive, extremely aggressive. You want to get up the stairs and die up on the second floor so that you can be revived on that second floor behind the enemy defensive setups. What this does is it forces the enemies to get off their turrets, to stop peeking the doorway, over here from the corner, and turn around and turn back in on themselves to face you and put you down. That means that the medics and any other heavies coming through the door here basically have a free entry now, because you've forced the point hold to turn back in on itself to deal with you because you got killed past their defensive lines. That goes against basically years and years and hundreds, if not in some of our cases, I know myself, thousands of hours of training yourself not to do exactly that, because the only thing that happens when you rush a door when an enemy's point holding is that you die really quick, right? Everybody knows this. So it's a real tug of war between your instincts and your muscle memory and your habits that you've built up over thousands of hours of playing solo versus what we need to do to make an effective breach, which is basically exactly the opposite, which is everybody rush in all at once and die inside, right? So it's tough, and it's always going to be tough. I don't think there's any real way that we can overcome those literally hundreds or even thousands of hours spent building up those, habits that, again, they're good habits when you're a solo play. But when you're trying to breach, for example, as a group, they turn into very dangerous habits that will basically just stall you and eventually get you killed. The best way to breach is as quickly as possible to get the largest numbers of bodies as possible into the building and on the point. The only way to do that is to stay hyper aggressive and ultimately to make some sacrifices. You have to be relaxed, you have to remain ready to get up and take those revives, and you have to trust that your medics are behind you waiting to throw those res grenades and revive you. The most important thing is to make sure you're running athlete as well, so that when you take those revives you can get up and ADS up on target as quickly as possible with a minimum of downtime, right?
Yeah, the goal of that first life when you go in is not to kill anybody, but to die in a place where when you are rezzed, you can cause the most chaos.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right.
You
And even if you
shoot anybody,
and if you do get up the stairs and find yourself alive and not dead, and you've got some heavies that made it up with you, you should be picking priority targets. Don't just shoot the first guy that's shooting at you. Don't do the thing that you should normally always do in solo play, which is what? Shoot the guy who's shooting you first, right? That's the most important thing. No, in a breach, again, the irony is that it's the opposite. You want to really take a split second, or however long it takes, and find a medic. Focus down those priority targets, right? Do not just shoot the first person that's shooting you in a breach. If you make it up the stairs alive, you want to find a medic and focus him down. Because even if you can do just a bit of damage to the medic, well, now the medic's got to hit his nano regen to heal himself up, right? And now his nano regen energy is lower, and that means that every other kill that you get, right? Every little bit of damage you do to the enemy team, that's that less amount of energy that nano regen energy that medic has to heal his teammates up, AoE heal them around him, because he used it on himself because you damaged him. Every little bit helps is the point. And you want to get the breach into a phase where it's like rolling momentum, where there's always half the breach team is always dead, but half the breach team is always alive, right? And so you're constantly leapfrogging each other forward, right? So you hit the entry, a few people die on the entry, right? A couple guys make it up the stairs. That's okay. A res grenade went out with the entry, so those guys on the entry get rezzed just as their buddies are making up the stairs. Now you have half the team up the stairs, half the team at the bottom of the stairs. That team at the bottom of the stairs, 2 or 3 guys, they move up the stairs. By the time they get up here, part of their team has died up here, but that's okay because they came up. Then they move forward deeper into the building. Another res grenade comes out, and the guys behind them on the stairs get rezzed. And so you leapfrog your way through the breach team. You leapfrog your way through the building as you breach, right? So it's okay if half the breach team goes down on the entry, so long as that res grenade comes out with the right timing and a few people make it up the stairs, because now, defenders are focused on these guys because they're the priority targets. They made it up the stairs. So what does that mean? You guys at the bottom of the stairs who died, they're free to take that res and move up the stairs behind them, and you leapfrog your way through the building. Again, it's imperative that medics are judicious with their res grenades. I always mention this because it's really important. It's imperative that medics stay behind the heavies at all times. Medics should never find themselves in front of the heavies. If so, something's gone very wrong with your positioning, right? You should always be behind the heavies. You should always be watching the backs of the heavies. That means during the stack up at the doors, medics' primary role before the breach begins, or as it's entering its first stage, primary role is to watch the backs of the heavies, make sure there's not a bolter or an infill coming up behind you. One bolter, one knife for infill can absolutely annihilate your breach team from behind in a matter of literally less than 5 seconds. You can kill 2 or 3 guys, and then that's it. It's over, right? So, yeah, very, very important to keep all that stuff in order and to understand that it's okay if people go down on the entry. It's okay if people go down inside. There's a leapfrog effect happening if your res grenades are going out at the right timing.
Yeah, I did want to bring up the medic stuff, especially when those conks are going out, because it's going to take a couple seconds. They are not looking at the door. The heavies are focused on the door of entry, especially this one we were talking about. This is long 3, door long 3.
Yeah, this is the main one.
Yeah, the short window. The short window, people can just be picking off all your heavies who are focusing on that. So in this particular one, medics would be, that's like a point of interest you want to be focusing on if that window's open.
Yeah, and normally it is. This is one of the very few L buildings where it's totally closed off. Normally it's fully open, or it has like the small square opening in it. So almost always medics are going to want to be watching that window.
Yeah, but not really the front door while those conks are going out.
Yeah,
The
no.
heavies deal with that.
Yeah, that's all heavies for that first stage. Yeah, medics are going to be watching the back. They're going to be watching the corners, watching for infills, and watching the windows. Yeah, 100%. Medics are on Overwatch. In other words, to put it simply, medics are on Overwatch until they enter the building.
Yeah, and when the squad lead calls heavies breach, medics do not breach.
That's
because
right. Medics don't breach
you are
until you hear
there
medics breach.
Trying to throw the resonates.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen almost every time we actually pull a breach, where when the squad lead calls for heavies to breach, medics go in with them. Do not do that, guys.
Yeah, if you do that, you're consigning the breach team to defeat, because if you guys go down with the heavies, there's nobody standing at the door to peek and throw res grenades to keep you alive, right? So medics, you really got to hold off. And again, your duties, even when you enter the building, your duties to watch the backs of the heavies for infills coming through behind you, that's still important, right? You can't just give that up. You gotta be aware of that. So medics actually have the most important job here. Heavies are just bull rushing. They blindly rushing in and then picking priority targets. Light assaults, if everything goes well in the breach, light assaults should have an easy time. Their only difficult thing that they have to work on is their timing and their judgment, right? And that's up to them, because they won't be getting a call from squad lead. So they have to be paying close attention to what's going on and listening for callouts to make their own judgment. But medics have by far the hardest job, right? Because they've got to maintain positional discipline, they've got to place their res grenades properly, and they've got to be on Overwatch watching the backs of the heavies when they actually enter, right? So medics, you guys need to stick your positions, right? Maintain positional discipline and be very, very careful. And yeah, like Hero Zed, you do not breach when you hear heavies breach. That is for heavies. Only medics breach when you hear the call medics breach. That's why there is a separate call out for you guys. Yeah, so I think that's it. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, I guess we'll get it started, guys. Let's move into the ops. We still got an hour and 12 on the alert. Perfect timing. Everybody redeploy, and we'll get into action.